So we have a new bill saying that we should cut funding of $3.3 billion to Israel. That is so exciting, finally. And guess who's against it? Hakeem Jeffries. Can we say it together? Of course. Okay, so we're gonna tell you his hilarious excuses for why he's continuing the funding of Israel. We're gonna tell you about how he's gotten money from them, of course, right? And very recently, we'll tell you exactly how much. I've got all the facts for you in a second. But Dave, real quick in the beginning here, at first blush, your reaction, I'm sure you're shocked that Democratic leadership is supporting Israel behind the scenes and now in front of the scenes.
Yeah, it is something, it's interesting, man. And I think that one of the things that people are waking up to more and more. I know it's a major theme of your show. It's a major theme of my show. It's something I've heard Tucker Carlson talking a lot about lately. And really something I think me and you have been talking about for a very long time, is that wherever you fall on the political spectrum, if you're just being honest in assessing the American government, we have a two-party system, so they say. So the system is openly rigged against third parties. There are two parties that are allowed to rule. We all know a Republican or a Democrat will be president every single time. And yet, when it comes to the issue of, say, foreign policy, monetary policy, when it comes to, like major important issues, there's absolutely no disagreement between the two parties. Now, the special relationship with Israel is one of those examples. It's not the only ones, but I mean, literally, when it comes to the Federal Reserve banking cartel over the economy, when it comes to the military-industrial complex, when it comes to the pharmaceutical complex, all of these major sources of power, the two parties are exactly the same. So what is that, Cenk? What do you have when you have a two-party system and both of the two parties agree on all of the most important issues?
Yeah. Sounds a little bit more totalitarian than we realize, and certainly is corruption. In fact, this is an excellent case of the corruption. So let me show you the facts on it so you can see it for yourself, and then I'll come back and talk to Dave more about it. So the New York Times explains that Tom Massie proposes a bill to take out the $3.3 billion that we normally send Israel, and Annie Carney at the NYT says proposal, which the House is expected to vote on as early as Wednesday night, will mark the House Democrats' first up or down vote in this Congress solely on the issue of cutting taxpayer subsidies to Israel. It comes as the United States and Iran have restarted their war, which Trump entered with Israel's urging. Now, good news, there's a bunch of Democrats that are gonna vote with Massie on this bill. Bad news, there's a lot of Republicans who are gonna vote with the Democrats against this. And so, but AOC's on the right side here, Ro Khanna's on the right side, a lot of good Democrats are on the right side, but the so-called leader of the Democrats in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, firmly on the side of Israel. But let's get to his hilarious excuses. He says, Sludge explains, Jeffries said he opposed the amendment from Massie because, quote, it is overly broad. Yeah, that's the real problem. And get a load of this, and would limit funding for humanitarian aid, refugee resettlement, peace building, and embassy operations. Yeah, we're giving Israel $3.3 billion for peace building? I mean, refugee resettlement, if you count ethnic cleansing, and humanitarian aid, that's going to humanitarian aid? No, it's going to 2,000-pound bombs they're gonna drop on Palestinian children. Do you see how much politicians lie to you through their teeth? And then the media is like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh right, Hakeem Jeffries, giant humanitarian. That is why he is voting for giant bombs to murder Palestinians. Get the hell out of here, man. What a pathetic excuse. He's barely even trying. So they explain more. Hakeem Jeffries says himself, based on the extensive conversations we have had as a caucus, there are good faith reasons that will result in members voting in a variety of different ways with respect to the amendment. Moving forward, it is my strongly held view that for the good of Israel and the Palestinian people, American policy in the Middle East must change. Oh, great, so then you're gonna vote to change their funding. No, I'm not gonna change it at all. I'm not gonna use any of our leverage. I'm not gonna do any of that. But as I send them this giant thank you gift for the genocide, I'm gonna say, but one day you guys really should change your policy. And then he goes back and high fives with AIPAC, goes, and I got the idiots in mainstream media to write it. Oh, yeah, we're gonna get policy change. later. Okay, so New York Times further explains, he made clear that he opposed the measure, calling it overly broad, as we told you. He would not seek to persuade other Democrats to vote against it. And he hinted the Democrats would insist that any future security aid to Israel be contingent on reining in human rights abuses against Palestinians. Oh, future money will be contingent on it, because one genocide's too tiny. I mean, if you do 2, 3, or 8 genocides, then maybe we'll take away $1. We haven't taken away $1 yet. We've added billions of dollars. Biden gave him 21 billion, Trump gave him 13 billion. These are all extra. We're about to merge our militaries. Okay, but now we go to the Jewish Insider. Jeffries also argued that the amendment would restrict our country's ability to confront Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorist organizations in the region who are sworn enemies of both the United States and Israel. They're definitely enemies of Israel, but the only reason they're enemies of ours is because we made them our enemies by allying with the genocidal state of Israel. And interesting though that to the regular press, he's like, oh, because I want to help the Palestinians at a later date, and I want peace building and stuff. Then he turns to Jewish Insider. He's like, no, let's destroy Hamas and Hezbollah. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the issue is, of course, a little bit tough for Democrats because they're pretending to be on the side of the Palestinians. In fact, there's a lot of Democrats that are in a tough spot because they all have to kiss Hakeem Jeffries' ass. I don't believe in it. I think it's super dumb, but they all do it, to be fair to AOC, who we're about to show you here. But they all have to go, oh, I love Hakeem Jeffries. Oh, I am for the Palestinians. I am against that aid. But Hakeem's gonna make it pass? Yes, right? So here is AOC telling us why she still supports Hakeem Jeffries. Now, to be fair, this was a couple of weeks ago before this particular vote, but trust me, she hasn't broken with Jeffries at all. And again, to be fair to her, neither has anyone else. Watch. The other night I was scrolling through Shop TYT, as I'm sure you were, when I saw our awesome Banned in the UK shirt. And I thought, I need that. I definitely need it. I clicked add to cart. I'm ready to dig out my wallet, but it's on the other side of the room. But right there in the checkout, glowing like a beacon, is that glorious purple Shop Pay button. One tap, boom, order placed. That's the magic of Shopify, the platform behind millions of businesses and 10% of US e-commerce, including our own Shop TYT. That purple Shop Pay button is the best converting checkout on the planet. It means fewer abandoned carts and more actual sales. If you run a business, Shopify makes it super simple to build a beautiful site with hundreds of templates and a BLASTS email and social campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling. It's like having a full marketing team behind you. So do what we did, use Shopify. See fewer carts go abandoned and more sales go with Shopify and their Shop Pay button. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT.
I read just a part of what she said. I take your point. Do you still feel, though, if Democrats win back the House, that Hakeem Jeffries is the right person to lead?
You know, I've engaged in many conversations with Leader Jeffries, and for me, and we have a broad caucus, right? For me, I have made very clear that one of my priorities in determining and in a leader determination is securing public housing financing for New York City. And Leader Jeffries has made his prioritization for the residents of public housing very clear. And for that reason, I will be supporting Hakeem Jeffries for leader.
Okay, you get what's going on, right? So why was Hakeem Jeffries not going to support public housing and AOC had to twist his arm into it? He's like, oh no, I'm only for the rich. Oh, public housing, okay, fine. If you sell out on me being leader so I could keep funding Israel and the pharmaceutical companies and all of that, I guess I'll help public housing. If that's true, if her story is true, it's even more damning of Hakeem Jeffries. But now let's find out what actually happened. We go back to Sludge, who's actually a great organization. You should read them all the time because they talk about money and politics. And they're the only ones doing, not the only ones, but these days there's Dropside News and others and Intercept and The Lever. But national media would never tell you about this level of corruption. So they explain so far this cycle, Jeffries fundraising committees, including Jeffries Victory Fund, Jeffries Battleground Protection Fund, and Jeffries for Congress have received at least $420,000 from AIPAC PAC disbursements according to Sludge's review of FEC records, including $149,300 that just came in a couple of weeks ago. And then look at that. Hakeem Jeffries voted exactly the way his donors wanted. Dave, what an incredible coincidence.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you man, like even as I listen to you break all this down, there's something that's very encouraging about just the dynamics of the moment of where we are right now, because you just think about the tremendous chasm between where like a statement like Hakeem Jeffries is and where the voters, the Democratic voters, are. I mean, there's such a huge gap. It's hard to overstate it. You know, it is now at this point. I mean, super majorities of the American people are against Israel at this point. Amongst Democratic voters, it's like super duper majorities consider Israel a genocidal regime. Amongst and Cenk, you understand this because you've been like actually involved in political organizing as well. You really rely very much in political movements on your young volunteers, the grassroots organization. Okay, on the Democratic side, 100% of them hate Israel, hate Benjamin Netanyahu, believe he just conducted a genocide. And yet you have, the head Democrat in the country coming out here and saying that we got to keep funding this genocidal regime. And imagine, as you of course correctly pointed out, making any type of excuse that you want to. Oh, well, the money might go to some good things too. Like, yeah, if you send a bunch of money to ISIS, there might be some mosques that are built also, but there's obvious reasons why anyone would be against doing that. And so, anyway, I just, I would, if you zoom out on this thing, it's really only been since, October of 23, when really the world woke up to what was going on in Israel, Palestine. Attitudes have shifted in an unbelievable way in the last few years. And we really haven't had that many elections since then. But there's an issue here where like, there are going to be elections going forward. And I don't know how long you can keep being this far off from where all of your voters are. And I would also say, to people like AOC, it's unbelievable how much momentum and how much credibility she gives up by trying to like please both sides here or somehow still fall in line with the establishment. I mean, there's a reason why in many ways symbolically Mamdani is leading the insurgent democratic socialist movement right now in this country, and AOC is not, even though she was more poised to be the leader of that movement. And I think it's because he's just kind of unapologetic on these issues. And why should you be? When you have pocket aces, you shouldn't be getting bluffed out by other people. Like, the same way Mamdani just went, yeah, no, I'm not going to Israel. He didn't apologize for it. He just went, yeah, my job is mayor of New York City. That's what I'm running for. And people liked that. And AOC, it just seems to me that if she wants to be kind of like the progressive darling champion, if she wants to run in 2028 and be able to blow Gavin Newsom out of the water, she's not doing the thing she should be doing right now. And this is obvious for anybody who wants to really win and be a populist left or right now. There is such a gap between where the people are and where the political establishment is. I mean, just think about it, Cenk. The country is more anti-Israel than ever before. And what's being floated out right now under the most pro-Israel regime, the most pro-Israel administration in American history, is a merger of the two states' militaries. Somebody needs to stand up and just say, no, I'm with the people. No caveats about this. I'm with the people. We want to stop funding this genocidal regime. We want to stop fighting wars on their behalf, period. I won't support anybody who's on board with that. Believe me, you say that message, you're going to have a lot more potential to run for president on it than whatever AOC just said.
Yeah, so I'll build on that in a couple of ways. So first off, there is one guy who is standing up to Israel on the Democratic side, and that's Representative Khanna, right? So he's trying to.
You see, Jeremy Scahill he took the knives to him today. Oof.
No, I didn't see that. No, what?
You're gonna go. So he was on, no, listen, and I'm not trying to like trash Ro Khanna or anything. I was just mentioned, I thought that might get a laugh out of you if you saw it. But so they interviewed him earlier over on the Drop Site podcast, Ryan and Jeremy and them. And at one point, Jeremy just really started grilling him about like the right of Palestinians to defend themselves against Israeli settlers and IDF forces, and he tripped him up a bunch. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to like trash Ro Khanna. You're right, he's been absolutely one of the best on this. But I would recommend people go watch that, because I think Jeremy did a really good job as the great journalist that he is on pushing him on even where one of the better congressmen is on this, still kind of being short of applying basic principles consistently.
Yeah, and look, I could criticize Ro Khanna on other things as well.
Sure.
For example, like, why wouldn't you be against Hakeem Jeffries? Hakeem Jeffries is awful,
yeah,
right? So now, to be fair to Ro, he's the only one that's come out against Chuck Schumer and saying that he shouldn't be leader anymore, right? But that goes to my main point, which is, why is like the most aggressive guy on this issue, Ro Khanna, even he is, getting tripped up by Jeremy Scahill. Even he thinks Hakeem Jeffries is the water's edge, right? And all of the other Democrats are like, no, we think it's a good idea to not make a big deal out of what 80% of our voters want.
Yeah, that's right. That's the thing, right, Jane? Because like, it would be one thing. Look, politics is politics, unfortunately, and all of us hate that in some way. But so, hey, if 80% of the country was pro-Israel and pro-supporting this war, then maybe there's an argument for why you go, look, man, let's let's teeter around the edges, get some wins where we can. Let's tone down the language. But come on, man. As me and you talk about, one of the things that's kind of interesting, that me and you have in common is that we've been in this world of Anna too, of course, but we've been in this world for the last 3 or 4 years or whatever, particularly of having these like big profile debates on Israel on big platforms and stuff. And there's been this big national debate about this topic over the last few years. And I don't know, what can you say? I mean, we've just absolutely smoked the other side. Like, we've won this argument. The groundwork has been laid. I'm not like trying to say that we take the credit. We had enormous help from the Israeli government, and they really could not have made it an easier argument for us to win. But I'm just saying, like, you're in a position here where, depending on what poll you look at, but there's been several that had it at 50 points that Israel's approval has collapsed over the last 3 years. So like, why is anyone right now, and when they are doubling down and tripling down and smearing anybody who stands up against them in the most vicious way, and it's becoming more and more obvious, Jane, you see it all the time. Like, you're telling me, like, I don't know, it's like Anna Kasparian and Marjorie Taylor Greene are both evil. They have like nothing in common except for the fact that they're critical of Israel, but they're both exactly the same. Like, everybody who criticizes Israel on either side is getting smeared. Meanwhile, we're with the majority of the American people. I mean, this is the time, if ever, to stand up and tell the truth. And look, I mean, you see this is one of the beautiful things about the moment that we live in right now. But all of the energy is with the people who are critical of the regime right now. And of course, because it's delivered nothing for the American people. I mean, it's unbelievable watching Donald Trump launch into this third round of this disastrous war. He's lost it twice. He's lost it twice already. He's going to lose it a third time while everyone else can't afford their rent payments.
Yeah, so look, last two things on this. They say we have to be loyal to our leaders. Why? How are they our leaders? If they're opposed to 80% of your voters, I got news for you, they're not your leaders. So they'd be lucky to be followers. They won't even follow the overwhelming majority of their followers. Look, of their voters. So look, the answer is super simple to anyone paying attention. So the only people in the entire country who are dumb enough not to understand this are legacy media reporters. Why do you think you'd be opposed to 80% of your voters when it's an electoral disaster? Because you got bribed to be? Because you just got $420,000 in checks? Because you've taken over $5.5 million from the Israeli lobby in your life? Like, the New York Times couldn't piece it together. They're like, now he's gotten about $6 million from AIPAC, and he's voting with them instead of 80% of his voters, even though he's the Democratic leader. Really, I mean, what do you want me to call you? You're either incredibly stupid if you're a national reporter and you haven't pieced that together, or worse yet, you're corrupt and you're not doing the news, you're doing propaganda for Israel and pretending it's the news. There is no third option because we all have eyes and ears, and unlike mainstream media reporters, we have brains. You vote against 80% of your voters, why? Because you took $6 million. This is not complicated. So it's disgusting the way mainstream media covers up for the corruption of our politicians and of Israel. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.